Hey everybody, Kat here on a Sunday afternoon. Boy, it sure was nicer today than it was yesterday, huh? Thanks to all of you who came to class yesterday. I know the roads were horrible. Kathy and Dawn, we missed you a lot, but this will catch you up. This is good review for if you came to class yesterday. So go ahead and watch this anyway. And for Kathy and Dawn, this will catch you up. We did not do the 6 great strategies for teaching. I'll do those some other time. Let me take myself out of the picture because I can see that there is a bad delay with the synchronization. Congratulations to all of the icebreaker demonstrators yesterday. They were really good demonstrations. Kathy and Dawn, you will be able to demonstrate your icebreakers on March 17th. That's the next time we actually meet face-to-face in class. February 24th, we will all be going to the teacher training down at Red Rocks Community College instead of our face-to-face. So bring your icebreakers on the 17th of March. Be sure, everybody else, be sure to bring those critique packets that I gave you yesterday because you still need to be able to add Dawn and Kathy to them. And then we will spend some time to debrief those icebreakers. Okay, planning a lesson. What do you need? And you might be thinking about your activities and games and maybe quizzes and tests. But before you do any of that, you need to do something very important. You need to plan before you plan. A lesson plan is a series of interconnected variables. This is right out of Parrish. All of these elements are critical to a lesson plan, and none of these elements should ever be left out of a lesson plan. But the most important thing to begin with is the one at the top, the goals and objectives, because the goals and objectives are going to drive your lesson. The goals and objectives are your plan. A balanced DSL lesson plan is going to have all of these. And in D2L is the little one-page chart that I created that has descriptions of all of these elements. You're going to have clearly stated lesson objectives. You're going to have a warm-up or a review. You might have both. Your presentation of new material. This is your explicit instruction. Guided practice, where you are really helping the students along with lots of support and scaffolding. Then independent practice, where they are using that language in real life application and you have stepped back and you're monitoring from the side. And then some way of evaluating the students' tasks and your lesson in general. You may or may not have an extension activity that charges the students to take that English and use it outside of the classroom. A rich and full lesson plan will have the learners at the center of the learning. You're going to appeal to all of the learning modalities. So you're going to have listening, speaking, reading, and writing in every lesson, and you're going to get those students out of their seats at least once in an hour. You want to leave those learners feeling satisfied and successful, and you want a good ratio of student to teacher talk time. And that brought us to the topic of pie. So Kathy and Dawn, your task right now is to draw a big circle and imagine that that's a pie. And yes, we did have pie for our break time. I want you to carve out a piece of that pie that you think represents the adequate amount of time a teacher should talk, and then the rest of that pie will be left for the students to talk. So do that. You can pause the video and then come back and restart the video when you've got your pie all carved up. So you want your teacher talk and your student talk. How much does each get? If you're teaching beginners, you may be at a 50-50 or even a 30-70, where 70% of it is teacher talk time. That is only going to be at first, and gradually you're going to be giving them more and more of the teacher talk time, so that by the middle of the semester, you're at 70-30 and maybe even 80-20. Shoot for 70-30 and go beyond that if you can. There is a direct relationship between students persisting and continuing to come to your class and their ability to be able to use that English on their own. Don't create language overload with too much oral instruction. Don't be the tour guide. First we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this other thing. That's the tour guide, that's language overload. Watch for the road signs. Watch for the deer in the headlights because a frustrated student is going to leave your class forever. Maximize learner involvement and student-to-student interactions. Plan for learner-centered instruction. Calibrate your teacher talk to the level of your learners, but how do you know what they can do at their levels? The best tool for you to know is to find out how they were placed in your level in the first place. So you find out, was there a test? If there was a test, what do those scores mean? What are the descriptors for that level? What can I expect these students to be able to do in general? In the US, we have 6 ESL levels, with level 6 being advanced. And then there is a level 7, which is called bridge. And this is really a bridge to academics. After that, there is a level 8, but now we're talking college level. But then who decides those levels? Well, the levels are determined by a standardized test. The 2 common standardized tests in the US are CASAS and BEST. They're actually used all around the world. And then there's the national reporting system that looks at that data from those 2 standardized tests and looks at the descriptions of what students can do at all those different test levels. And then they come up with what they call their learner functioning levels. They are all tied together. This is the CASA skill level descriptors. You need to download this document from D2L in assignments and save it to your hard drive and maybe print it, because we're going to be referring to this document when we get into assessing learners. But this shows the test levels, which are the letters A, B, C, D, and E. Those are the test levels, but all of these brackets in the scores, these are the actual learner levels. So level 1 is 180 and below. Then we have level 2, level 3 and 4, 5 is high intermediate, 6 is advanced, 7 is bridge, and 8 is college level. This is what the CASAS 01 beginners looks like. I can't show it all to you because it's just too big for the slide. But look at what they can do at level 1. Listening and speaking functions minimally, if at all. Reading and writing may not be literate in any language. So that's what CASAS says. Here's what Best Plus says about a beginner. Functions minimally, if at all. Level 0 is no ability whatsoever. Those are your real beginners just off the plane from their home country. But you can see how similar these are. In general, these tell you what the students can do with the language and the kinds of jobs they're able to have. And then the NRS, the National Reporting System, looks at the CASAS and the BEST scores and their descriptions, and they use those scores to determine their own learner functioning levels. So now I want to talk about lesson objectives and evaluations, because these are tied. Which comes first? It really isn't a chicken or the egg kind of question, but in general, when I'm planning a lesson, I'm probably going to be starting with my objectives and then determining how I'm going to evaluate them. Some people do it the other way around. The lesson objectives are going to tell you what the students are going to be able to do by the end of your lesson. What are they going to be doing in that class? You plan to the objectives, not the activity. The activity is merely a vehicle to get them to that objective. Avoid outcomes that you can't measure or evaluate. Students will be able to understand, learn, know, become fluent in. You cannot measure those. Let's look at Bloom's taxonomy. When I look at these levels of Bloom's, understanding and remembering, those are things that are really hard for me to measure and evaluate. But these other 4 are tasks that I can demonstrate, and through those I can demonstrate my remembering and my understanding. And these are all action words, action verbs. We spent some time looking at Webb's depth of knowledge, and in Webb's there are 4 levels, but this does not mean learner level. This means depth of thinking. So at level 1, these are the simplest thinking tasks. An example is recall. At level 2, skill and concept, classify. Level 3, strategic thinking, data collection. Student-to-student interviews with a semantic map. Find someone who eats cereal for breakfast. That's data collection. And then level 4 is extended thinking, prove. Show me your evidence for your answer. Remember, this is not learner level, this is depth of thinking. And so a learner at any ESL level can do these tasks in a level appropriate class. You want to use action verbs like ask, read, write, select, categorize, classify. These are measurable and observable tasks that demonstrate remembering and understanding. These are some sample objectives. I'm not going to read through them all. You can pause the video if you want, but notice that I used action verbs for all of these lesson objectives. Objectives are your expected outcomes, and they are going to be linked to the evaluation in the lesson. So I'm giving you 3 new mantras. Mantra number 2 and mantra number 3. I want to spend a little time on your poster sessions. These are the teams and the topics. Keep watching the course news. As soon as I can get those rooms created in the discussion forum, you will have a place where you guys can share documents if you want. You can kind of strategize what you want your poster to look like and that kind of thing. And then you can also share, if you want to share phone numbers, that's up to you, but you can do it in there and no one else can see it. Your poster session tasks are going to be to read your documents, read up on your topic, and on the 17th of March, you're going to prepare a 10 to 15 minute poster session. You're going to create your posters in class. I will provide paper, markers, and tape. If you have other pictures that you want to have on your poster, you'll need to bring those yourself. On your posters, tell us the basic definition or elements of your topic, and what are the implications for teaching adult ESL. Your assignments for this week are to read Chapter 6 and the ESL Teacher Language Independent Study course. Get those CASAS level descriptors and the NRS learner functioning levels and read them. They're just a few pages. And then you've got your discussions and your reflective journal. Your lesson plan objectives assignment this week. By Friday, I want you to submit your lesson plan objectives. At least 2, no more than 4. These are going to be objectives for one lesson, a 2-hour lesson, and those are due this Friday by 11:30. And then on March 9th, you're going to be submitting evaluations for those same lesson objectives. And then on April 13th, you'll be submitting a full lesson plan with those lesson objectives and those evaluations. You have to identify the level of your learner. Let me know what level you're planning for. And you can simply say beginning, intermediate, or advanced, or you can use those CASAS levels if you want. Groundhog Day happens, guys. You are going to be teaching a lesson and you're going to be sure that they got it, and you're going to come back the next day and it's like you never taught it before. So plan for Groundhog Day. It is real. It will happen. You think that they learned it, and they just look at you with the deer in the headlights. You need to provide time and patience and lots of repetition and support. So I'm going to leave you with this cute little tiger cartoon. I just love this. I taught Stripe how to whistle. And the little boy says, I don't hear him whistling. And he says, I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned it. That is the reality of teaching ESL. All right. Enjoy this week's content on lesson planning, and I will see you in D2L. Bye-bye.